All right, so Designer Desmond, we are back. This second video, we're going to talk about selections. Selections are really important because if you ever want to take something out of an image, you need to select it. So, going back to this crop that we have of our text here on that camera, we selected the text and we cropped out based on that. But what if we actually wanted to? Let me go ahead and delete this mask. So I'm going to take the mask and take it to the trash can, saying apply mask layer before removing. No, we just want to delete it. So what if I wanted to select this camera right here and cut him out from the background and not just that text? So let me show you how to do that. There's a few different ways we could do that. Now, I'm going to be pretty straightforward with you. The pen tool is probably the best way to take anything out cleanly. And the way the pen tool works is, well, it doesn't really seem like it works at all, but it works really well. So a straight line is pretty straightforward. You would click your first point, and then you would click your second point, and you get this straight line. So then if I were to click up here, I have another straight line, but you see how I'm kind of cutting off the edge of this. Oh yeah, and by the way, the pen tool is P on the keyboard or right here. So yeah, I'm cutting off this edge. So I know you're thinking, oh, you could just zoom in with the zoom tool, which is Z, the shortcut key, and just make a whole bunch of clicks around here, and you know, you're gonna select this. And yeah, you're right. That's actually how I started out selecting stuff. I thought it was a whole lot easier. And then let's just say this is all that we wanted to select for time's sake. Now I have this selected. Now you press the selection tool or the selection button right here. And what that does, make sure your feather is 0 and your anti-aliasing is checked. And new selection is usually the only thing you can check. Press OK. And see how we got these marching ants just like we had on the text tool. If I were to press this button, it will cut it out for me. So now let me go in more detail with the pen tool. If I click and then I click again, I get a straight line. But if I click and before I let go, don't let go after I click, and I drag, you see how I have the ability to adjust this curve? See, now that's really nice because within 2 clicks instead of 20, I just made that angle. So now here's another kind of gotcha about the pen tool. If I click and I drag and say I need this to be this long to fit the curve of this perfectly. Let's just say that is the case. And then the next point on here is straight. So I'm going to click here. You see what happened? It kind of got like this arc up here, and that's a big problem, right? Because we need this to go straight. Well, what happens is each side of this Bezier handle, or Bezier, however it's pronounced, it affects both sides of the line. So if you hold the Alt or the Option key, you get a different selection tool. It looks like a incomplete triangle. If you click that, you can then independently adjust both sides of the line. So if I were to click here on the original point, you see how I'm affecting both of them at the same time, right? So then I go ahead and let go. I'm not letting go of all, I'm just letting go of the click. And then I click one side, I could adjust this side, and I click the other side. I could adjust this side. And then I could go ahead and carry on about what it is that I need to do to crop this guy out. So, doing this real quick. All right. Press my selection button up here again. And then press my masking tool. There we go. That's how I would cut this out. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this mask. I'm gonna show you another method. Now this method is probably what a lot of the beginners would want to use. It's you press E on the keyboard and you get this eraser tool. Now if you click and hold, there's 3 erasers. There's a background eraser, and there's a magic eraser tool, and there's just a straight up eraser. Straight up eraser is exactly what you think it is. Your left and right bracket keys on your keyboard, they're right next to the P letter. The left bracket is going to make it smaller. The right bracket is going to make it bigger. Now notice around the edge of my circle I have this fuzzy stuff. If I hold shift when I do the left bracket and the right bracket, see how my fuzzy stuff goes away? If I shrink it, and it actually gets bigger, but what that's doing is it's making the edge feather. So when I clicked on the camera, see how it erased it, but it erased it more from the center and less from the sides? That is known as the feather. So notice how big my feather is, and notice how big my erase is. So at the edge of my fuzzy soft stuff is where it actually didn't erase anything, and it erased it intensely from the middle, and then there was a fall off to the edge of that line. Now let me show you if I take off that feather by holding shift and then scaling up to get rid of it and then clicking. You see how it just all the way in that circumference of that, it just erased it. So now you could click and erase and try to do this perfectly. See, every little mistake I made showed up on that straight line right there. If I were to add the feather, it's a little more forgiving, but it's transparent. So it's just something to keep in mind. Sometimes having the right size brush helps on stuff like that too, because then you could get in a little closer and try to do your thing. That is just a waste of time, to be honest with you. If you're gonna go that method, your best bet would be to use the background eraser tool. And what this does is it uses this tolerance threshold and saying anything 5% of the same color, we're going to go ahead and erase. So it's calculating this by where the plus symbol is in the middle of your tool. So I click here and it's saying, okay, this black is not close to 5% of the same color as this white at all. We're not going to erase it. So as long as your plus does not touch any of the color, like my plus is going to touch this color. And so you see how it started to degrade the colors that were 5% of that same tolerance. So just make sure your brush doesn't touch any of those colors, and you, my friend, will be erasing exactly what you want. Now, something to be careful of is, you see right in here, we have the light makes this pretty much white, and so is this. So when I click and erase, I'm running the risk of deleting that if my tolerance was higher. So let's say I'm gonna turn my tolerance up to 40%. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this white back. Turn my tolerance back up to 40%. Now when I click and I erase, I actually erased in here because that was close enough to the color that I wanted to erase. So that's what the tolerance button does. So just be mindful. Now, if you have actually a super clean white background, like, and see how I erased this guy in here too. If you have a super clean white background, like this image, the easiest way to do it would be by using the Lasso eraser tool, the magic eraser, and it uses that tolerance, but wherever you click, it does it. Also, this contagious button means it's contiguous. I'm sorry, not contagious. Contiguous, kind of like the contiguous states of America. Alaska and Hawaii are not connected, so they're not contiguous. So when I click the white here, anything that is touching contiguous and not separated by another color will be cut out. So you see how this ran up into here and it cut that out, but this little arm angle blocked off this white section, so it did not cut that. And just kind of like the middle of here, It's not contiguous to this white part or the rest of this portion. So yeah, that's how you're gonna select and cut things out. Another way to select and cut things out, the W key. This is this quick selection, and you see this guy right here. What this does is, rather than like how we were just clicking that stuff and getting rid of it, there's no way to bring that information back if you go too far. So what I like to do is make sure I make selections. Like, see how I just clicked and I dragged and everything that was white got selected? Make selections and then hit the mask button here. Uh-oh, we got the opposite of what we wanted, right? So Command Z, and if we press Control Shift and I, we're going to get the reverse selection of what we want, and we press the mask button and we cut out the other side. Now this, I probably shouldn't even show you this because now we're getting to some like really advanced selection stuff, but here's our color channels. If we select each of these individually, we will get only the grayscale image for that color. So what I'll usually do in these situations is I find the one that has the most contrast, which is the most black against white, and I go with that one. So I'm going to use the blue channel. I'm going to take the blue channel, I'm going to drag it into this plus layer. Now I have a clone copy of this blue channel, and what I want to do is make this be basically my mask, because you know how everything that's black is gonna not show and everything that's white is gonna show, right? So if I press Control and I and invert this, well, look what's happening already. This outside is all black and the inside is almost white, right? So a few ways we could do this is I'm gonna press Control or Command L and bring up my levels. Now, if I take the left side and bring it up, I introduce more blacks. If I take the right side and bring it up, I introduce more white. So I'm gonna push this as hard as I can. I'd say like right there without getting too much nasty, ugly noise. I press OK. If I press Command Z, you can already see I'm getting closer to my goal of what I want. Now, the L button is the lasso, Polygonal Lasso Tool. If I click this and hold it, I get the 3 different options. So the first one is kind of like a freehand selection. I click, I drag, I let go, and I have made the marching ants, right? Okay. Now the second one is like a line tool. I click, I click, I click, I click. I don't even have to hold this click. After I let go of the click, it just makes a point. I keep going, and it'll keep going forever until I touch my first one, and then I get my selection. The third one is the magnetic one. This thing is weird. It tries to use like the color tolerance to figure out where you want your lines. You just click and hold one time, and then you run it along a path, and it goes ahead and makes its own dots kind of at random when it thinks. It's really weird. It could be really accurate. Like, see how accurate that was? It's kind of slow. But when we get to these corners and stuff, this is where it really kind of messes up. So yeah, just this guy is weird. I try to stay away from him. It's not very precise. Or I mean, it is precise in its own outright manner, but it's not very precise to what you would like it to do in most cases, what I should say. All right. So the reason why I was showing you those different ways of selecting stuff is because if you get pretty close like we are now, when we press the lasso tool and we start blocking out different areas, say like this, and we finish this guy off, well then whatever is on our palette tool over here, black is on top, white's on the bottom. If we press X, we can flip that. Whatever's on top, when you press Alt and then or Option on the Mac and then the delete key, it will then fill whatever's in the selection with this color. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this white color. I'll make it red, and I press Alt or Option Delete. Or well, I got gray somehow. I meant to say red. Oh, it is red. It's just we're on a color channel, so it's only going to show us values in grayscale of that color. But anyways, you get the idea. So I'm gonna go back to white because white is what we want. And yeah, we can add to our selections as well. So say I have this selected. See how my lasso tool has a plus on it? That's because right here on our menu, this is adding to a selection. This is going to be subtracting from a selection, etc. So now I have selection minus. So if I click, anything I click is going to be taken away from that selection. With this one, it's going to be adding it together, or even just making two selections. And this first one, be careful of that one, because if you want to add to a selection, you have that one first one, you're just making a new selection. So be mindful of that. I like to work with this plus, and even though I'm on the plus, if I press Option or Alt, it turns it to a minus real quick, and I can always just work on this tool right here. So add all the different parts that you want together. And then press Alt or Option Delete, and you fill it in. Now, once you get that guy filled in the way that you want, you can go ahead and click on your RGB channel, Command D to deselect all your little ants. And what happens now is, since you have this channel here, make sure you're on your RGB for when you go back to your layers. Now that you have that channel there, what you could do is go to the selection menu and click load selection down here, and you have this blue copy channel because you're loading it from your channels that's over here. So when you click that blue copy, it knows everything that's white you want to select, and everything is black you don't want selected. So then when you go ahead and click your mask button, it masks that out. Now, we didn't finish our mask exactly perfect over here. If you remember correctly, we had a bunch of we had a bunch of issues going on. Let me turn this guy off, turn this guy on, turn this guy off. Yeah, so this is exactly what it did. Anything that's gray is going to halfway select with like transparency. So this stuff is like halfway selected, and it reflects in our final composition over here that this stuff was halfway selected. So like this stuff didn't quite make it. But what I like to do sometimes, if the image works, is I just keep pasting in the white or the black onto the mask. So if I select this mask and I press Alt Delete, I keep pasting it in. And so I filled out those areas that were needing a little bit of help, like say there, and I brought this guy back in, say there, so that's just a quick tip. I know we're getting kind of advanced, and I apologize. Now, if you don't have the time to go in and make your mask all perfect, this if you press B for the brush tool right here, what white is going to paint back and black is going to delete. So bring the bracket right next to the P tool is how you make your brush size bigger and smaller. If I click, make sure that my mask is selected. If I click and I draw in white, I'll get my stuff back, right? But careful, because if I draw over here where I don't want, I'm still going to get that stuff back too. So now this is like painting. Click, draw, want my stuff back over here, move along, see what else. Are we missing anything there? No. So yeah, you could see how that method could help for certain things. But yeah, that's how you select and you crop stuff out in Photoshop.